Hello everyone. Hope you are good in health. We have talked about conventional sources of energy as well as non conventional sources of energy. Now let us talk about consequences of these sources of energy on the environment. We have learned conventional sources of energy like fossil fuels, thermal energy, hydropower energy. Also, we learned improvement in the technologies like biomass and wind energy. Then we talked about non conventional sources of energy, in which we studied solar energy, also energy from the sea, then geothermal energy, as well as nuclear energy. Now, these sources of energy we are using for generating electricity or for any other purposes. So, we are using these sources of energy for many purposes. It may happen extracting this energy from the sources lead to harmful effects. Is it so? Let us talk about it. Exploiting any source of energy will disturb the environment in some way or the other. We all know. What is exploiting? Exploiting means to make full use and derive benefits from it. So, when we make full use and derive benefits of any source of energy, will disturb the environment in some or the other way. So let us talk about some of the consequences. We have already seen that burning fossil fuels causes air pollution. In some situations, in some of the energy, you can think that the particular device is a pollution free, but to fix it, to make use of it, that can lead to damage. For example, if we take about solar cell. So solar cell is a device which is pollution free, but to assemble it, this device can cause the environmental damage. So in that way it is a disadvantageous. We have seen that this extracting energy from the resources can cause air pollution. It can also lead to acid rain. Also, it can lead to soil pollution also. This way, it is harming the environment. So, we should make sure that we use these sources of energy, but we make use of these sources in limit. We should not use these sources of energy so much that the benefits which we get from it will result into harmful effects on the environment. So it is our responsibility that we make limited use of it and get benefit from it. Because how much the environment will be polluted, that much there will be a problem of survival of living organisms. So this harmful effect will cause damage to all living organisms. So maybe a day will come when we will not be able to survive at all because of the pollution in the environment. That is why we need to ensure that the proper uses of sources of energy should be done. We should use it in a proper manner so that the harmful effects on the environment will be less. It is very less. Even now, research continues to produce longer lasting sources of energy that will cause less damage to the environment. Nowadays, scientists are searching for this kind of sources of energy which will cause less damage to the environment. In short, they will be searching for renewable sources of energy. Now, let us talk about the last topic of the chapter, that is, how long will an energy source last us? Which means we are going to talk about lifetime of an energy source, which means lifetime. When we talk about lifetime of an energy source, which means we are going to talk about renewable sources of energy and non-renewable sources of energy. We have seen that we cannot depend on the fossil fuels for much longer, right? We have already studied this. Such sources that will get depleted someday and are said to be exhaustible sources or non renewable sources of energy. Here, you need to note that non renewable sources are also said as exhaustible sources of energy. Right, when we talk about non renewable sources of energy, they are the sources which cannot be used again and again. One day will come when it will be finished, it will get over. So we have studied examples of this non renewable sources of energy are fossil fuels, in which we learned coal, petroleum, gas, okay, and we know that they are in limited quantity. So, these non renewable sources of energy are also said as exhaustible sources of energy because they are in limited quantity. If we use it more and more, maybe it will not be left for our future generations. We have also talked about renewable sources of energy. What are renewable sources of energy? The energy of sources which are unlimited, right? So, here you need to note that renewable sources of energy can be regenerated. We can make use of it again, right? So, they are called as renewable sources of energy, and they are said as inexhaustible sources of energy. We have studied about renewable sources of energy like wind energy, solar energy, biomass, then geothermal energy, tidal energy. We have learned all this, right? So, the renewable sources of energy are said as inexhaustible sources of energy because they are unlimited. We can make use of it again. So, keep in mind the difference between non renewable sources of energy and renewable sources of energy. Non renewable sources are limited. That is why they are called as exhaustible sources of energy. And renewable sources are unlimited. That is why they are called as inexhaustible. Okay? Keep this difference between the two in your mind. And we know that renewable energy is available in our natural environment, right? So, this is all about renewable sources of energy and non renewable sources of energy and their lifetime. Also, we studied the environmental consequences of exploiting any source of energy.